live in Brooklyn, baby. We live in Brooklyn, baby. We're trying to make it, baby.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Mini Insanity Check. I am Ken. This is The Sauce, otherwise known as Skillet Sauce.
Skillet Sauce.
We're back again. Our lovely white girl is traipsing around doing white girl things, so we are holding down the fort. But she will be back in a couple of weeks, and we will have a major show for you guys. It wasn't funny.
She's traipsing around doing white girl
Well,
things.
she can't be doing black girl things.
Or-
She's not a black girl.
Yeah, that's kind of. I'm just imagining that shit in my mind.
Okay, yeah. So we're kind of going to pick up sort of kind of where we left off. Basically, the Ray Rice incident, as you all recall, if you've been paying a little bit of attention to what's been going on, at least in the sports world, NFL, Ray Rice, of course, a couple months ago, got caught on videotape, which people may not realize that's really the main thing, the optimal focus of this whole thing is that he got caught on videotape dragging his limp, lifeless body of a girlfriend out of an fiance, out of an elevator, presumably, basically, after he confessed to assaulting her, domestic violencing her, and as you may have seen on our other show talking about this. Again, we don't necessarily condone this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But again, you kind of have to wonder why this is such a big deal in the context of this always happens. It happens in the NFL, it happens in sports, it happens in American society. It happens around the world, quite frankly, but we look at it here differently. But again, it has happened. It has happened numerous occasions. Why all of a sudden cats are getting suspended left, right, and center for this.
Sponsorship.
Exactly. So we mentioned Stephen A. Smith, who's back on the air now after a 1-week suspension for basically having the insane idea, the audacity to try to look at the full scope of a situation. Who does that? Who does that, people? Who are these people? He used the word provoke, and he used the word, I think it was responsibility for women, and you can't do that.
Can't do that.
Women are not responsible. They don't provoke. And
they're not
even if they do,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what they do.
He got tossed off the air. Then, the latest incident is boxing analyst Max Kellerman.
Who's also, he's... As far as in ESPN is concerned, he's not a boxing analyst because that's for HBO. But he has that show. He has the ESPN radio show. Is Marcellus Wiley also with him on the radio show?
Is it him?
Or is it another guy?
I think it might be Marcellus Wiley.
Okay, and they also have that show with the woman who actually was
Michelle Beadle.
Michelle Beadle. They have
basically dropped dime on Stephen A. Well, not dropped dime because he said the shit on the air. What she did is she, spoke out against him. He, I guess, in hindsight, foolishly tried to defend himself and explain further what he was trying to say. That didn't work out. But anyway, Michelle Beadle is the lady you were
on there. What is the name of the other show?
I don't know. I have no idea what Kellerman does.
Okay, hold on a second. We're going to do a fancy edit or something like this, man, where we can put that shit in there, man. So, like, in a couple of seconds, we're going to have it.
So.
That was kind of fly, right?
Yeah, that was dope shit. We had the information beaten into our skulls.
Yeah, it was like from Wayne's World and shit, So, you got that effect?
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, you can get that sound. But yeah, the show is Sports Nation. And that's when, it's Marcellus Wiley, Max Kellerman, and
Michelle
Beadle. And essentially what happened was there was a blanket order put out on ESPN in which they were told, I believe, not to cover the Ray Rice, not to touch the topic, just to try and get around it. And Max Kellerman didn't listen. And he drew a parallel to his personal life. He said 20 years ago when he was a college student with his then girlfriend, They were in college. They were both drunk, and they had an altercation. She slapped him. He slapped her back. And, well, you can't say that. You can't say that in 2014 on ESPN after the Ray Rice incident. You can't mention anything like that, even though it was his private life from 20 years ago. They're now married, which doesn't excuse anyone of anything, because a person, just because they can accept violence doesn't mean that, society is supposed to accept it. But it was a situation, yet again, the way he prefaced it, that she struck him, he struck her back. Doesn't matter, okay? They said no talk. His ass was out of here. And I'm not sure. I think he comes back this Thursday. So Thursday for us. For you, he'll already be back by the time you see this. But the point is, he was suspended for something that didn't have anything to do, I guess, with the Ray Rice thing, in the sense that, that's an athlete who violated NFL policy as far as in conduct and what have you. But when it comes to ESPN and their sponsors and all the rest of that stuff, if they tell you as an employee, we don't want you to mention this regardless of the circumstance of someone asks you a question on the air, don't say anything about it. And Max Kellerman made a mistake, and he mentioned it, and, well, he was suspended. But it still brings on more discussion about the whole thing about, if his girlfriend struck him and he struck her back. I always like to think about it like, okay, if one human struck another human, doesn't matter. So it's just a long list of the censorship that ESPN is doing with its employees as far as in not having true freedom of speech or true freedom of opinion. But I do agree with ESPN in the sense that if they told you, because as your employer, they could tell you don't ever mention, just pick something. They could say, you don't say this or anything about this because we're paying you. And either you accept it or you do not accept it. He apparently maybe thought that by talking about his own life, it wasn't directly Ray Rice-ish, and, well, he was wrong, and he was out of here. But
he probably thought, since, he doesn't say, it's okay to smack women or anything like that, that he should be safe and sound. But Stephen A. didn't say that shit. And,
no, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter whether you say that or not. I mean, the fact is, he did not say it. Like you said, he didn't, once again, he I believe he also said, he was wrong. He was wrong for it. Wrong for retaliating. He should have, like, I guess most men are raised, to accept whatever beating, said woman is doling out on you, and, just roll with the punches, literally. My thing is the fact that it was 20 years ago. Maybe they could have taken that into consideration, but hey, if they just said flat out, no talk about it,
And, it's like I told Skillis when we were talking about this earlier, the only way for me, and of course I'm nobody, it doesn't mean no one gives a shit what I think, but the only way for me that this would be an acceptable scenario is if they, obviously behind closed doors, went to Max and Stephen A. for that matter and was like, look, man, what we have to do. And we're going to do it, and, but we're going to pay you. You're going to give you your money, but we have to make a show, just like we made a show with the concussion shit. I was listening to during a run this morning. I was listening to ESPN radio, and
a run. What do you mean a run?
A run, track run.
A drug. Oh, you mean? Oh, you were running. You mean like you were running?
Colin Cowherd, who unfortunately comes on at 10 o'clock, so that's what I listen to. Anyway. He was talking about how the NFL, and again, we've been saying this for years, a couple of years on the show, but us together, years. The NFL used to sell the concussion hits.
Yeah.
The greatest
hits,
the worst hits, the most devastating, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, shit that was penalized during the game. They're like, yo, check this out.
Yep.
Does anyone out there remember, you got jacked up?
Yeah.
Monday Night Football, primetime pre-game show, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Everyone. It was a phrase that cats were now reciting in the NFL, saying it into the camera. You got jacked up. What does that mean? It means cats was getting laid the fuck out.
Even so far as the NFL licensed Madden game, when they would cut together the snippets of the game when it was like whatever year, 2013, 2012, 2011, whatever, they would show the new mechanics, of the animations and stuff like that for the football players, the virtual players, and they would show a compilation of hits. The computer generated characters getting laid out, balls flying, to show you how realistic it was. So,
hell, you remember the back deal and this one of the Madden incarnations, the ambulance used to come onto the field.
That was one of the funniest shits. First of all, I think it was like Madden 92, so whatever it was. You would jack a dude up, bust him up bad. And the funny thing is the ambulance would come out and it was totally the wrong scale. I mean, the ambulance was like...
The people were about the size of the football players.
Yeah, the fucking whole truck was about the size. It was ridiculous. But remember, if you jack somebody up and they were fucked up and laid out on the field, the ambulance would come out and run over everyone in order to get to this dude. So that was like one of the fun things we do, just to see if a dude would get injured, keep running him into the pile, to watch the ambulance come and kill like 10 other players. But literally they had it in the game.
But this is the same NFL that are so concerned about the players. They were about to get fucked in the ass with a ginormous lawsuit. So they had to put on the face. They had to act like we care. That's all this was.
So do you think they were approached about the Ray Rice thing by someone saying, listen, you had better put a good face on this?
I firmly believe had Michelle Beadle not done what she did, nothing would have happened to fucking Stephen A. Smith, and then subsequently nothing would have happened to Max Kellerman. She sounded off, and she's one of their own, and sounded off, and now again, people always been complaining about Roger Goodell and his fines and his punishments and blah 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 blah. So they may have complained that and again, I can't stress this enough. It was because of the video.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fucking Rihanna and a whole host of other chicks got far worse than Ray Rice's fucking a woman got.
But there was
she was virtually spotless.
Yeah.
But she was seen
on video,
limp, being dragged out of it. Like this motherfucker was fucking Michael Myers.
Yeah, no, literally like dragging a corpse and shit. Like I was thinking like the tall man from Phantasm.
I mean, I have to admit, when I first saw it, I was like, damn.
Well, seriously, I thought what happened, when they first showed it, I thought she had passed out because she was ill. Because it seemed like the disregard in which, I'm like, and then
that's the thing. He wasn't like cradling her.
Then I'm like, wait a second, this motherfucker's hauling her out like a carcass. So I'm like, what the fuck happened in there?
Grits.
Yeah, literally. So I'm like, damn.
So that to me, that is why this whole thing got to the proportions that it did. But to have to suspend a man for, to just talk about it, because again. This is what ESPN, like I said, as I was explaining to him, this is a corporation. This was a hardcore business move. Like, look, we don't need any more trouble. We don't want any more trouble. Because almost universally, everyone was disgusted that Ray Rice only got 2 games.
2 games.
And it was, remember I told you, some people were actually suggesting that this cat give up his fucking checks.
Oh, yeah,
to domestic violence centers and shit like that. It was fucking Colin Cowherd. Because they played a clip of it as I was running today. And he was like, some people have suggested this. I'm okay with it. If that's what he wants to do, it might happen. I'm fine with that.
Why would he need it?
First of all, again, this man's checks is something like $225,000 a game. So if he gave up 1 check, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm good with that because $225,000 is far more than any domestic fucking violence center would have ever gotten from any one person in a whole fucking year.
Listen. That's a ridiculous suggestion because the man has kids. He has a family. So he's supposed to give up all of his earnings. So what is he going to live on? What is his wife going to live on? I believe he has 1 or 2 children?
I'm not sure, but
yeah. Well, he has at least 1 child. I believe he has at least 1 child. So what are they all going to eat? Like fucking Ritz crackers and shit and cans of tuna? Cat food like the fucking crazy old cat lady or something? I mean, when these people make these suggestions, are they not thinking that this man has bills to pay? He has responsibilities.
Well,
they're not thinking of anything.
They're assuming, I guess, that if he's gotten a few $1 million in the past, that he should have plenty enough to live on while his whole year's salary is removed.
Spending another person's money. spending another person's money to with some fake political correct bullshit. I mean, this whole thing is just PC run amok. PC run amok. Max Kellerman, like I said, that situation only because, they told him don't say anything and he said something. But when you like I love to do, you check the comments out, people were okay with him getting suspended as well because they didn't even give a fuck about the ESPN mandate. They were just saying, oh, well, you hit your girl 20 years ago, you should be suspended. So as if I were, let's say, working at any office, right, doing any regular job, and I admitted that 20 years ago, me and my girl got into a full-on brawl. She's an MMA woman, and I was formerly in MMA, and we're duking it out 20 years ago, which has nothing to do with my job now. The way these people were approaching it, they were like, listen, because you did that, your current situation should be void. And I don't quite understand. They weren't even using, like some intelligent people, like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that he violated what they told him, whatever sanction they put on there. But people right now within this political climate, politically correct climate, they have an inability to think. They can no longer process situations. They just like spew out and regurgitate this nonsense because I think somehow they feel it elevates them. To have this position, it elevates them.
Either that or it's just, the next level of sheepalism where people are like, oh, I'm supposed to be outraged? Yeah, I'm outraged because that's just wrong. You know what? We were at a barbecue last night, and I have to say, I was mildly shocked that we were surrounded by women and talking about this, and they all seem to agree, hey, maybe a woman shouldn't just fucking hit a man in the first place. How's about that? Now, they didn't say it's good she got her fucking ass busted.
Yeah, it was,
but
you know what?
How's about don't fucking hit people?
Yeah. And you know what? It was an actual rational discussion, but the majority of those people were
world travelers.
World travelers. And I don't think no, all of them were people from other countries that now reside here for one reason, be it work or what have you.
Excellent point.
So they were all from outside of the United States. So they were able to, like I said, Americans must be super fucking stupid, or like you said, sheeple, because they were able to process the actual thing. Oh, she hit him, he's stronger than her and all this other kind of stuff. But it was a discussion, and it almost always finished off with, you know what, maybe people shouldn't just hit other people, and they won't have to worry about it. Because there was a situation, an aside to this, where, what was his name, Tony Stewart? Whatever it is, a race car driver. And he got into a little dust up with another race car driver, bumped him, right? And he kept driving. The other driver got out of his car to protesting, like walking across the track while the cars were spinning around,
track.
With the cars racing. He's like, yeah. And the same driver he wanted to protest to actually clipped him and resulted in his death. And people were debating back whether or not he intended to hit him or, whatever. But they almost all go back to, if he never got out of that fucking car in the first place, we wouldn't be talking about this unless the driver T-boned him up against the wall. If he did that shit, it's like, that was intentional. But if he had never gotten out, the safest place was in the car. He got out and brought that on himself to a degree. No one deserves to get run over. And the whole thing is, the women all came to like, listen, we don't believe in any kind of violence. If the woman didn't hit the dude, then we wouldn't be having this particular discussion about this particular incident. But they all agree, like I've said, no one should just feel the need that, like I said, a man should never just go clobbering a woman for whatever she did. And again, we get it. Like, so I was saying the last time we discussed this about, the sexual harassment in the workplace and all that shit. It was made for reasons. It was made because men were taking advantage of women. Oh, yeah, slapping secretaries on the ass.
We get the whole,
having
blaming,
shit like this
blaming
around.
The victim is wrong. Because, when, again, like we said, when a cat comes in and doesn't like how his steak looks and takes one of his fucking wife's teeth out with a fucking uppercut, you don't blame the woman for that. But don't sit there and say that you just can't ever hold people responsible
or accountable
for their actions
as adults.
You just can't say that shit. It's because it's bullshit. Nothing is in a vacuum. Everything has you know, its own set of circumstances that you have to take into account.
I just really, thought about the fact that all of those women were from other countries.
I did not realize that, which explains why, like I said, I was shocked. I
Well-traveled.
was waiting.
Yeah,
I actually didn't even want to get into this shit because it was a barbecue for a friend of mine who's leaving the state. It was supposed to be a good time.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I didn't want to get, I'm like, I don't need to get into argument with fucking, people at this shit. But 2-hour surprise.
People that we didn't, I didn't know any of these people. Any of them.
Outside of my friend. I knew one chick, but she wasn't even in the conversation.
I didn't know anyone except for your friend. So I'm like, yo, and when I was, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck did I do? But then I said, hey, whatever, hopefully it'll work out for the best and won't spoil a meal. And like you said, pleasantly surprised that these women were able to process the situation, keep everything within the proper context, and have an open discussion. There was no blanket, a man should never just hit it. There's no blanket. It was an open discussion. And well,
and across the board, it was like, damn, you can't say shit in this country anymore.
Yeah.
And Max Kellerman getting fucking suspended is preposterous.
No, it's not. It's preposterous that they would put that out there, ESPN. But if ESPN said so and he knew it, it's preposterous that ESPN would have to put out some blanket shit.
But the whole thing is, what exactly did they say? Did they say don't talk about Ray Rice and Michelle Beadle, or did they say don't talk about domestic violence at all?
See, that I don't know. I thought they were talking about specific about the Ray Rice situation.
In which case, the man did nothing wrong.
But who knows? It might have been, hey, don't even mention domestic violence of any kind. I don't know. We'll check it out. We might do another diddly or whatever. We might do something. But so that's the only reason I find it outrageous that they would have to put something out there to neuter their own analysts. That I find preposterous. But if it was out there and he knew it and still defied it, if he understood it and still went against it, then hey, your boss can do what your boss wants to do. But it's still a sad state of affairs for us in America right now that we can't have our own opinions.
So that's the latest update on that nonsense.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I want any more to happen, but because
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't. It's just, like I said, it's just sad. It's just sad. Yeah. It's just really sad. It's really sad. So I don't even want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it big.